We hit Infinite this month using primarily 6 different deck lists. I definitely played way more than 6 decks, probably like 20 plus or something like that. But these were the ones I played the most. I want to go into detail on each one, starting from the most budget all the way up to the most expensive. So first up, I want to start with this Dr. Patriot list. This is running Patriot and Ultron. That's the base of the deck. Patriot, you definitely need Patriot. You definitely need Mystique. You definitely need Ultron. Now, this is the top performing Ultron list and the top performing Patriot list. I ended up dropping Onslaught for Dr. Doom. If you don't have Dr. Doom, feel free to put Onslaught in instead. Onslaught is pretty good here. Maybe you put in Patriot, Mystique, Onslaught, or something like that. It's totally fine. I prefer Dr. Doom. He performed a lot better for me. But often what we're doing here is we are throwing priority. On turn 1, you might have Misty Knight, Squirgle. You don't have to play those. You want to wait. You want to throw priority. Maybe Patriot on 3 into Mystique on 4, Blue Marvel on 5, and then Ultron on 6 in the same lane to fill your other lanes with those little drones that are going to be buffed. This list is just old, tried and true. If I'm ever wanting to, I'm having a bad day, I'm losing a lot of cubes, I can always go back to this deck and I can win consistent cubes. There is a large sample size for this, and it is one of the best decks. I love Patriot. I think it's a top tier pool 3 only deck, and I like it. I like it a lot. Definitely try this one out if you're a fan of Patriot. If you're not, another completely pool 3 deck that I played a lot of is Cerebro 2. Cerebro 2 has another old trusty deck for me. I have played a lot of Cerebro 2, so I kind of know the ins and outs of it. I'm very comfortable with it, and I can generally just win positive amounts of cubes anytime I play it. Now with Cerebro 2, or just Cerebro decks in general, there's a lot to keep in mind with the locations often screwing you over. Opponents like Scorpions and stuff kind of screwing you over. Even like Wakanda Embassy also can mess you up, right? So you have to play around that, and I think it's a lot of fun. Sometimes you play Korg on 1, maybe play Invisible Woman on 2, put Cerebro behind the Invisible Woman, put Mystique behind that so you can guarantee that you can't get Enchantress. Maybe you end up storming a lane and then you brood that lane to flood it with all your 2 power minions, and then once your Cerebro goes through, that lane is just 1. Best thing you can do on turn 2 is generally Scorpion. Scorpion on 2 is incredibly powerful at removing a lot of power from your opponent. We have Nightcrawler here because he can move around, and yeah, the list just feels really good. This is my favorite list for Cerebro 2. I have tried M'Baku builds and stuff like that. They're less budget and also I think less good, but ultimately it kind of comes down to what you're most comfortable with. If you want to make changes, go ahead and make the changes. If you're like, why no Daredevil? Feel free to drop Invisible Woman for Daredevil. That's another replacement. If you don't have Invisible Woman, Daredevil's pretty good. I know a lot of people like Hobgoblin here. If you are running Daredevil, feel free to try around with different Cerebro 2 lists. I think they're all pretty solid. Whatever you're most comfortable piloting is going to be what's best for you. But this is a solid deck for people who are looking to ball on a budget. All right, this one is going to be a little bit less budget. We got SHE-NAUT here. This is running She-Hulk. I think She-Hulk actually goes into pool 3, maybe by the time this video is live. So maybe this is all pool 3, but this is a really fun one here. We are using magic to be able to have an additional turn. On turn 6, if you float your entire turn, She-Hulk is going to make it so she's essentially free on turn 7. So turn 5 magic, turn 6 She-Hulk, and you can also play Infinite because on turn 6 you did nothing, meaning Infinite is playable, She-Hulk is playable, a huge power swinging turn that your opponent cannot react to generally. You do get screwed by Arrow if they are expecting your play. If they're anticipating you to do this huge drop, you might get screwed. If you're a lower rank player, this is going to be easy. If you're playing against bots, I think this will be easy. If you're playing against real players that know what you're up to, you might get arrowed and you might be a little bit sad and lose 8 cubes. But generally, hard for your opponent to play around because they can't Shang-Chi. Their best way to play around would be leader or arrow, because Yeah, but mostly Arrow. But Moon Girl is here because she can duplicate your She-Hulks. You can get multiple She-Hulks. So if you Moon Girl on 4, Magic on 5, your turn 6 you full float. Turn 7 you can do She-Hulk, She-Hulk Infinite. Or maybe Moon Girl on 4 to get 2 She-Hulks. Maybe on turn 5 you don't have Magic, you float turn 5. On turn 6, She-Hulk is only going to cost 1. So you could do like She-Hulk, and then play some other stuff, maybe like your Cosmo or your Ant-Man or whatever. On the same note, because maybe you don't Infinite on the last turn, you can make you can Moon Girl to make extra She-Hulk and Ant-Man, and then do She-Hulk, She-Hulk, Ant-Man, Ant-Man. Really fun list. I like this one. This is actually, I think, still like the highest cube win rate deck because of that cheeky play where your opponent can't play around it. Next up, we have Ghost Dracula Spider here. I think Milky made the original version of this, and then I made a version, and then Nina made a version. Whatever, I digress. It doesn't really matter, but this does have Zabu. If you have Zabu, yeah, Zabu's just one of the best cards right now. Maybe he'll get addressed in the future, but it doesn't seem like they're planning on nerfing Zabu at the moment. So if you bought Zabu, congratulations. You have a leg up against everyone else. Pay to win. But Sunspot on 1 feels great. If you have Zabu, you basically snap. If you have Zabu on 3 or before 3, you snap before your opponent sees that you have Zabu. So we play Zabu on 3. On 4, you can play 2 4-drops. You can do Dracula Jubilee, or maybe you didn't end up getting Zabu, you can Sif, and then you can Ghost Rider on 4. Spider-Man is incredibly good here because you can play Spider-Man on turn 5 to make it so your opponent cannot play into that lane. Basically lock down an additional lane. Giganto can go left and win left, but ultimately you want to pull Giganto from Jubilee. That is the dream. Same thing with Infinite. Dracula can also discard Giganto or Infinite. If you're missing Giganto, go ahead and put in Hulk instead, or even something like Red Skull. Before Spider-Man, we had White Queen in here, so if you're missing Spider-Man, feel free to put in White Queen. Shang-Chi is great for these cheeky wins, and your opponent thinks they've secured a lane, and then you just Shang them, and it only costs 2 because of Zabu. So absolutely loving this list as well. A lot of people have been playing this one, so your opponent might expect what's going on. All right, this next deck is SAURI. Call it that because it has Sauron and Shuri, and also I'm sorry because it's kind of pay to win. You have Shuri, you have Sauron, you also have She-Hulk. It's hard to recommend buying Sauron because not a lot of people have Sauron and can play with him. But I can tell you, when I play this deck, I feel like I have an unfair advantage, which I guess I kind of do because I have Sauron. But it feels like I'm cheating. I just win. I get cubes. I think I've had a 1.5 average cube win rate with this deck. If I ever want to win, aside from going back to Patriot and C2, this is kind of my go-to deck. If I want to push to infinite next season with ease, it's going to be with this deck. Now, I think a lot of people are going to get better at playing around Shuri because Shuri is going down from pool 5 to pool 4. So people will have more Shuri. You'll probably see more decks like this. A lot of people are going to be able to play around her accordingly. Your pants are down to Shang here, which is why we put Arrow. Arrow can be used in turn 6 if you've locked down one lane by maybe going Sunspot into Sauron, into Mary, into Red Skull on a different lane, and you know you've won, then you can Arrow on that final lane to pull the Shang-Chi away, or any kind of counterplay they could be trying to do to ruin their life. Generally on turn 1, you want to play Sunspot if you can, but you do not want to play Zero, and you do not want to play Ebony Maw. Generally on turn 1, there are fringe case scenarios, but generally you're looking for Sauron, you're looking for Shuri. If you get either of those, you probably want to snap Sauron. Even if you don't get Shuri, you can go Sauron, Mary, Red Skull, Arnim, or Red Skull, Taskmaster. Okay, this is the dream. Sunspot on 1. On 2, I guess you can Lizard if you want. On 3, you play Sauron. On 4, you Mary. On 5, you Red Skull. On 6, you Taskmaster, and you Ebony Maw. It's just such a powerful swing. That's one of the dreams. The other dream would be like Sunspot. On 2, you can Lizard, Sauron, then you Shuri. And then on 5, you can go Red Skull, which is going to be 30 power with no ongoing drawback effect. And then on 6, you either Arnim Zola to split it, maybe dodge a Shang, or you do Taskmaster and Ebony Maw to add 37 power on that final turn, which is pretty crazy. This deck is crazy, feels unfair. I don't know if it's the best deck in the game, but it definitely feels that way to me. It's definitely the deck that I'm the best at piloting. All right, now for my most fun deck that I have played a ton of. This is going to be the more budget take on it. This is Colossus C3. Colossus is here instead of Bast, which is my other build. He cannot lose power. If you get Scorpioned, you don't really care. But the cornerstone here is Valkyrie. You can just destroy your opponent's lane. Do they have a 30 power Red Skull? Well, not anymore, because you're going to Valkyrie it and make a 3. But you have a board full of 3s. They have a board full of 3s, but you have Cerebro, which gives them +2 power. So your side just wins. Magic is here to improve the consistency of drawing Cerebro. You get 1 extra draw. And you don't really care if your opponent puts something big because you just Valkyrie it. So you try and secure 1 lane, maybe through Sentinel, Rhino, Cosmo, or something like that. And then your other lane, you can maybe do Cerebro, Mystique, and then your last turn can be Wasp, Valkyrie. A lot of people ask, why is Wasp here? Your final turn, you could do Wasp, Blade, and Valkyrie all in 1 lane. Kind of crazy, really good. I do think Valkyrie is an incredible card. Not a lot of people have her. Going from Series 5 to Series 4, so we'll probably see a lot more Valkyrie, and we'll get to see her true potential. But C3 Colossus, she feels right at home here. Absolutely love this. Let's go with the C3 Bast list. This one is running Bast, and we shake the deck up because we're running Bast. We can also run Adam Warlock, which improves draw consistency of getting Cerebro. We also run Juggernaut here just as a cheeky sort of get out of my lane, maybe just easy free win sort of card here. I love Juggernaut the more I play him. Running Rhino, you might be wondering why we're not running Scarlet Witch. It's because Rhino makes ruins, and Scarlet Witch makes a lot of random locations, which are generally bad for Cerebro decks because it could be something that alters the power and just ruins your Cerebro. So Bast, you generally don't play on 1. You're just trying to hit a couple cards. If your Bast can hit Wasp, Cerebro, Adam Warlock, Mystique, if it hits at least 2 of those, you probably want to play your Bast, and then you win accordingly. I love this because it's such a cheeky final turn. They often don't expect the Shang, or they don't expect the Valkyrie, because yeah, Valkyrie's so expensive. But those are the decks I played the most. SAURI being my top performer, C3 Bast being the one I had the most fun with. And if I were to choose one ultimate budget deck, it'd probably be Dr. Patriot. I think Patriot and Cerebro 2 are both top tier pool 3 decks. Now that might change again because everything's shifting down. I guess this isn't technically pool 3 because it's Zombie, but SHE-NAUT is. But I've lost too many 8-cube games with SHE-NAUT with my final turn being arrowed or leadered. So I give the other 2 an edge, but a lot of people have a ton of success with this. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you want these. I'm thinking of doing these monthly just after I hit Infinite. I kind of just cover the decks. Yeah, if you like the video, please like and sub, and can't wait to do battle mode stuff and tackle next season. Good luck on ladder and stay hydrated.